Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Championship at DreamHack Winter 2016, powered by GeForce GTX. We're back here on the panel. You're enjoying this, aren't you?
You become hexagrams now.
Yeah, I know. Someone has to do it, right? I mean, he's just bumming around. Oh, no, actually, he's going to work soon. So it's okay. Never mind that. Yeah, we are back here on the panel. We have a great match coming up for you. It's going to be the winner's match of Group B, and that's no other than Misfits and Fnatic. So that's two big names on our board right there. And there's a lot to say about those two teams as well, since we saw some very interesting stuff kind of happening yesterday regarding this. I didn't know how to actually phrase that, but I want to talk about Fnatic first, because there has been a big, it is a big role switch, I would say. Coolmat is now back on hit scan, and what we thought is going to be the replacement for IDDQD, Hafikul is actually transitioning into this flex role, and yesterday we saw him playing Diva. You got really excited about that, CP. Maybe explain to us why.
Okay, so I go way back with Coolmat, like years and years and years, and early on in Overwatch, he was playing your Reapers, he was playing your McCrees, your Widows, he was incredibly good at it. And then there's a point where he said, you know what, I'm going to go in the flex tank role, I'm still really good at this, and he was one of the most fearsome Zaryas in the game. But now, he is back at home, he's been playing Soldier, and he was ripping people apart yesterday. It was return the form for him, and I think it's a case where Fnatic has made the switch because this current meta is very, very friendly to running two really good hit scan heroes at the same time. So for Matt, when he's so good at it, why not let him return the form with the departure of IDDQD?
Yeah, you say he's good at it, though. Is the IDDQD good at it? That's the question, right?
That's
yes.
Big footsteps to fill, but I guess we will find out in just a bit. But before that, we're going to take a look at the brackets to see how those two teams actually got to where they are right now, which is the winners game of Group B. Now there we see them. Misfits played against Team LDLC yesterday, and that was a clean 2-0. Fnatic and Mousesports wasn't quite as clean, and there were some interesting games. One ended in a draw, and then the decider match went to Mousesports. We saw Anubis being played, so that was quite an entertaining game right there. However, Fnatic made it on top and joined Misfits in the winners match. And that's what we're going to see now. The guys are getting ready on the stage, but let's hear some words about Misfits. Misfits coming in with Cooler in this tournament, as Crew isn't with them anymore. How did you feel judging on the games yesterday that has been working out for them so far?
I mean, it was a 2-0 for them over LDLC, but I don't feel like it was as one-sided as maybe would have expected the old Misfits lineup to have. I'm really kind of worried for them because they won the Overwatch Open. Like, I expected them to be one of the best teams here today, but when we saw them actually doing practice scrims against some of the teams, they were really struggling. Like, Cooler isn't as vocal as the player they wanted to come in necessarily, and he kind of has to learn to be that position.
Absolutely, and well, they have some demons to slay there for sure, because Zebosai used to be on the support, used to be their main shot caller, really keeping them all in line, but now Zebosai is going more to the front line, flexing on the things like Zarya much more, so he's not able to make the calls that he was able to make in the past. So this puts them in a trouble here where they've been trying multiple different ways of communicating, and I think they decided yesterday where everyone's just going to have a role in shot calling, and they looked better yesterday than they did the day before, but they're definitely not at 100% coming into this.
You know what's unfortunate about this, though, is that I would have liked to see Misfits before the patch with Cooler, to see how actually good they were, because with the patch changing or the meta changing and Cooler coming in at the same time, it's kind of like putting a lot on this team alone to kind of adapt to not only the new player, the new patch, and like new heroes they have to play. It's really kind of unfortunate timing for them, and we can't really gauge how good they would have been before versus now.
Now, something Mitch actually mentioned yesterday was that he personally feels Misfits is one of the teams, they need to rely heavily on their DPS to win this tournament. Would you guys agree with that statement?
I think strong individual play is definitely the way Misfits need to go. I think the synergy is just not there yet. Like, you can't add on a crucial player who's now your caller for your team or supposed to be your main caller and expect great synergy.
The other thing, too, is that Overwatch is really defined by your big tank player combos. I mean, going all the way back in the day, look at teams like C9 at one point, you had Kai and Debet that were winning tournaments for them off that. Well, now they've switched up their tank players, and it's going to be a little bit rough for them to adjust. You don't have Crew on that Zarya anymore, and Zebosai has been doing an admirable job filling in, but he's not going to have that same level of synergy that Crew might have had. So I feel like their tank play has definitely been hurt a bit by the change-up, and it is going to put more pressure on the DPS to carry more of that load.
I mean, going into this tournament, Fnatic as well as Complexity have been big question mark. For you guys, has that been lifted a little bit, judging on yesterday, or is it still a bit unsure?
I don't feel like you can really judge how good a team is off of like one game yesterday.
That is correct.
And especially, like, yeah, I mean, you can't really do that. But I think you also need to have them play against like teams of higher caliber. You know, I don't want to really give offense to any of the BYOC teams that came, like Mousesports and LDLC, but I feel like Misfits should ideally be a better team in general compared to those teams. They've been around a lot longer. They've played at a higher level for a lot longer. So I think this is the first challenge for both these teams to really show what they've got.
And also for Fnatic, again, Fnatic also has not been at as many tournaments as of late. They're sort of in the same boat as Complexity, where they were off the radar for a while, leveling up, and they had a big roster change as well, which Complexity didn't have. So for them, this is one of their first public showings in a long while, and they have a lot to prove. And for Fnatic too, this is just one term of many that's coming up for them.
And the man on your screen there, Buds, I wonder what he's necessarily going to be playing in this situation, because he was a real backbone for their team with him and IDDQD. You have IDDQD be this all-star kind of hit scan player, but him on his Reaper was fantastic. And you don't really see Reaper much anymore in the current meta with the way everything's being played. Yeah, so can he adapt to playing something else?
I was about to ask, like Fnatic used to love those nano-boosted Reaper plays. Now, do you guys think they're going to go for a 3-2-1 right there? Because Misfits, for example, they refuse to play the meta. The triple tank meta is just not theirs. So they're probably going to go with something else there. What do you guys think we're going to see from Fnatic?
So from Fnatic, it doesn't seem like they're too eager to run Reaper and everything. Certainly, I think the biggest thing to look forward to is that Buds has really been focusing more on Roadhog, and he has a great Roadhog. It's not new or unprecedented from him, but the way this current patch is, the way it really favors running Hog, where Reaper has a harder time getting position, I think we're probably more likely to see Buds on that Hog more often than Reaper, although there's definitely points where you can still flex in a Reaper from time to time. It's just not going to be an every fight thing.
And when you put like a Roadhog into the situation, he's transitioning from being a DPS role to still being DPS, but now he has to work with his tanks a little bit more heavily to actually like position himself in a way that he can be protected when he misses a hook and to try to go in.
We actually have the map vetoes and picks ready for you guys, so let's take a look at it, and you guys maybe lead us through what we're seeing there and tell us if you agree with the overall decision making.
Really? Gibraltar first. And we're going to see Ilios. So we have Gibraltar, Dorado, and Ilios. Gibraltar is going to be an interesting map, I feel like. I feel like both these teams aren't like amazing at it, like Complexities and NIPs, but they're definitely not new to it at all.
No, not new to it. And actually for Gibraltar, I'm kind of hoping we see Cool Matt just go crazy on the Soldier, because that is a map that has probably been more favorable to the Soldier when he's good, when he's strong, than any of the other maps. I mean, there's just incredible stompings where you see players like Tavik get on top of that hangar and just chew people apart. Cool Matt can definitely do that. So even though Fnatic maybe might not like Gibraltar as much as some other teams, I think they could actually make it work very well for them here.
There's a lot of pressure on the Soldier too, like on defending-wise, for the most part, of taking the high ground advantage. Even on the first point, like the high ground is so important to maintain as a Soldier, since you can be really independent and really reliable on yourself and maybe a couple of feels from Anna or something like that. It's going to be interesting to see like how quickly he's adapted to this role from playing tank for so long.
Did you guys actually like expect different picks there map-wise, or?
I would have thought maybe like Hollywood in there, because Hollywood's just such a staple for like every team, especially like North American teams.
The other thing too is I'm a little bit surprised that Fnatic let any control maps get in there, because clearly if you look at how they were playing yesterday versus Mouse, they don't seem to have as firm a grasp on control as they do on your hybrid and escort maps. So for Fnatic, I wonder if that's a little bit of a loss for them, and I kind of feel like if Fnatic does go up in map 1, we'll probably be seeing Ilios come in for map 2, but
I mean, that's kind of what I was saying on the Castos before. It's kind of, you have to pick the least of all evils, because I'm assuming neither's teams, well, actually, even Fnatic is actually generally good on capture point maps. Yeah. So I'm actually a little bit, I'm not surprised to not see them, but I'm assuming Misfits invested like all their vetoes into that, and Fnatic can only invest so many vetoes into control point maps kind of thing. So you have to let one of them eventually go through. Maybe it was just one of the ones that they felt a little bit more confident on, but it's definitely be rough. I feel like Nevix on Misfits can really run amok against Fnatic if he gets going on a control point.
Well, particularly in Ilios too, where that's a rougher map to get going as Soldier. There's a lot of ways of getting hit by line of sight, whereas a really good Tracer has so much room to maneuver on that map that I think Fnatic could be in trouble on Ilios.
All right. Now if we're looking at the individual players of each of those teams, maybe talk me a little bit through Misfits. Nevix and Sunda have a very, very similar hero pool, I would say. Do you guys reckon that's an issue, or is that a good thing?
I don't think it's ever like a bad thing to have. Like you talk about in terms of him and Soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just him and Soon.
I mean, considering it's like a double hit scan meta, it's not bad to have like overlapping skill in terms of being both hit scan players.
Not at all, but the thing about Nevix too is that Nevix is incredibly multi-talented. I mean, over the course of Overwatch, where Nevix was actually in the first game I ever casted, so he goes very, very far back, but he's played everything. I've seen him on every role and every time. He's a player that can, no matter what, flex something that's going to do a good amount of work, so I don't think you have to worry about Nevix regardless of what he plays.
You don't really really find that often either, do you? Like in top level Overwatch at the moment, like you have like Tvik, like one of the few people that can technically play hit scan and projectile to a high level, even tank if you need him or support, and Nevix has done just that. So it's very rare to find that. I think it comes down to like soon what kind of level he's going to be playing at.
Of course, one of the big questions is also, who do you think is going to win? So, Jace, maybe starting with you, where does your vote go to?
I'm going to give this a 2-1.
For...
Not going to tell you, no. I'm going to give you a 2-1.
That's not how predictions work.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a 2-1 for Misfits. I want to have hopes for Misfits that they've been able to adapt over the last couple of days.
I'm going to say 2-1 for Fnatic, and I think the map they'll lose, if they lose the map, is going to be Ilios. That's my pick. So I'm on the Fnatic side.
Okay, I'm actually joining Jason with Misfits. Okay. Yes. I mean, I was right before, so just saying I might be onto something here. So, either way, we're going to head to our casters now for all the action. This is the winners match of Group B Misfits going up against Fnatic.
Thank you very much, Zoe, and quality predictions as always. My name is Mitch. I'm here on the desk. Well, someone call him wordsmith, some might call him sellout, I call him mate. It is hexagrams. Finally, in real life, we're here together on the desk, and what a game for it.
It's great to see you, Uber. All three of those things apply to me. I think they're all fair. I'll take, what I've deserved, what I've earned, I think in several different ways, selling up for myself there. I could talk about this matchup all day. This is what I was looking forward to in this tournament when I saw the initial qualifiers, saw the initial brackets. I think Misfits versus Fnatic, this should be just absolutely killer. I really am glad I'm not on the desk because my predictions would have to be recorded. I will just keep them to myself right now, but so many of the roster changes, there's chaos on both sides. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams that, in my opinion, are in flux. They've made changes. And it's funny because on the desk, there was so much to talk about. We didn't really get to touch on the cooler factor, bringing this star, this decorated veteran from previous FPS titles into Misfits. Some were surprised by the decision, but the most interesting part is, first of all, Cooler being an incredible mechanical player playing Lucio to start with. And then, of course, Cooler obviously... not being English as a first language speaker like many of the players on his team, having to call, obviously the entire team has to speak in English, so that's got to be a challenge when it comes to your communication from the top down.
What's so interesting is that we talk so much about Misfits' comms issues there because of Cooler and everything, but there's also some comms issues from Fnatic as well. One of the reasons that they struggle, in my opinion anyway, just being a fly in the wall in the players' room yesterday, when they go into those King of the Hills, their comms fall apart a little bit. They're really cohesive when they're on those payload maps, when they have a singular objective, everything's communicated clearly, everything's got a purpose, but on King of the Hill, it seems like they do fall apart a little bit. The calls are being made, but people aren't necessarily reacting to them correctly. The counter calls aren't being made. The communication's there, but it doesn't feel like the listening's necessarily there. So I think that's one of the reasons they try to avoid King of the Hill maps. I looked at the bans and the ban orders. I think they got a little bit greedy in this map pick and map draft phase because they could have picked King's Hill, I think, or King's Row rather. That's a map that they love. I think it's their best map for Fnatic. They left it in the pool. It was Misfits' last ban. It almost became our first match, but Misfits smartly got rid of it. And then they banned out both Lijiang and Nepal first, thinking maybe Ilios will get banned out by the other team. It did not, so that's there too. So I think they can still do well. I do agree with ZP in our desk that if they struggle, it will be on King of the Hill.
I remember going back to some online tournaments, seeing Fnatic playing, and even in the regionals for the Overwatch Atlantic Showdown, we had almost got to the point of calling Ilios an auto-lose map for Fnatic, especially up against teams like Cloud9 as well, or even Envious in that regard, is that they just didn't like to play for it in general. We already saw two of those control point maps banned out, but it's an interesting reunion to have on stage here because these two teams haven't played at all, online or otherwise, since the Atlantic Showdown, actually on stage in Group A, where Misfits were defeated twice 2-1 by Fnatic. But so much has changed since then. We had E-League in between. We obviously had the World Cup break. Nevix is now obviously playing as a damage dealer, and IDDQD is no longer present on the Fnatic lineup. So it is a very, very hard game to try and draw anecdotal evidence or past results to give your prediction any credence.
Right, history, kind of, because they're different rosters, different people.
Right.
I wanted to bring up that the other side of the coin, we talked about how Cool Matt is going to be on DPS. And if you're an old veteran of Overwatch, been there for a year, you know that Cool Matt was top tier DPS. Just an amazing hit scan player. One of the things, though, the other side of that coin is that they're very confident and comfortable with Hoppy in the flex position. It's one of the reasons they wanted him on the roster. They feel like he can run a very good D.Va. He can run the flex for us. So it's not that one move predicated the other. It's that they believe in both of it. Yes, Matt can move to that, but that doesn't, like, it's not the reason that they moved Hoppy to flex. They wanted Hoppy for his flex play.
And the changes that Fnatic have made to their roster definitely give them more flexibility in recent times. And one of the things that we were perhaps a little bit critical of the previous member IDDQD of at the World Cup was that his hero pool was a little bit limited in, you know, what he could play. I mean, he almost had this virtuoso-like ability on McCree, some would say, but unfortunately, you know, when it wasn't McCree or Tracer, his Reaper struggled to gel with the rest of the Swedish lineup as well. We didn't obviously see it on Fnatic because Bud's played it. So as the meta changes, players need to as well.
Yes.
And I guess that's a big bonus now for Fnatic, bringing Half in, able to have him to flex, seeing Matt make the transition over. The most flexible players, or the ones that can adapt between patches, are going to be the most successful. And Fnatic have managed to bolster their ranks with 2 such players now in different positions than they were originally.
Well, IDDQD is a player with a very particular set of skills, you would say. They're very high-tier skills. His IDDQD, or his McCree, I use the 2 interchangeably because he runs mostly McCree, is top tier. But I think also it's probably good for the roster overall. I always question when you have a player of that level of talent and he's off a roster, then clearly something was going wrong personally within the team. And you're not going to win games with an unhappy roster, with a team that's not necessarily gelling together. There's so much to account for in Overwatch, just as far as the gameplay and the mechanics and everything you have to worry about, that you can't worry about the interpersonal drama as well. You have to be friends with everyone you're playing with to be able to be successful, I think.
Yeah, and it's the same situation. People often question why Tailspin would leave the Envious roster, being on the precipice of playing, of course, in the quarterfinals. But again, you don't just, these aren't just people you walk into the office on 9 a.m. on a Monday morning and greet them and go about your work. You have to live with these guys. You live, you play, you do everything together. So if there are interpersonal issues, they need to be solved. But Misfits, let's zero in a little bit more, I guess, because there are some more relevant recent examples of their performance with this roster that we have seen. Of course, we did catch the monthly melee of EU where we saw Misfits play. They fell to FaZe Clan in the lower bracket final there as well, and they didn't look to be themselves. I mean, can we pinpoint that at all? Obviously, there's been shuffles in terms of the roles in that team, but it was a lackluster performance from the Misfits.
I think the patch has really thrown them a little bit of for a loop. They didn't like the triple tank before, and it seems that triple tank is being bolstered now by the patch.
They heavily dislike it.
That's a nice way to say it. They are not fans of the giant hero pools or health pools of triple tank, so they're just... their approach to it, to how to deal with it, we're just not going to run it. We're going to run our own thing. It's been cool to see, actually, sometimes. We saw them against NIP. We talked a little bit earlier that they ran a Sombra, they ran a Tracer, they even ran a Genji in that same composition. They're running triple DPS against NIP. And
it was like a comp with like Tracer, Sombra,
Genji.
And Genji, yeah. So like the 3 flankers, this triple threat of very slippery heroes.
Yeah, no, I called it the Velociraptor strat. Because when you're looking at the 1, it's the 2 from the sides that you didn't even know were there. And I think you can definitely run that kind of strategy against triple tank. It's all about your comms, which we've talked about with Misfits. Who knows where they're at right now. But being, if you can focus all that fire onto one tank, yes, tanks are hard to kill, and the game lacks a little bit of burst damage. That's a lot of burst if you hit all 3 of those at once. You know, if you really hone in and then start targeting individuals down. So that is something that they want to run. I watched them play a little Gibraltar the other day. They ran triple DPS there. I think they're definitely going to run DPS, and what the desk had mentioned as well is this team is a team that can be hard carried by their DPS. Nevix can get you a 4K on his Dragon Blade at any given moment. Soon has won tournaments on his Tracer. His pulse bombs are phenomenal. His tracking's right. He is probably the most fun Tracer on the planet to watch. Yeah. So if they have a chance in this set, which of course they do, I think it's going to be very close. Again, I don't want to put down my predictions because I want to just stay neutral. I'll be Switzerland here, be neutral. It's going to be super close, but I think their best chance, and it's how they're defining their strategy now, is our DPS are going to go off, and we believe in that.
So obviously, guys, you've seen our faces and the team's faces not playing the game for a little bit. There is a slight computer issue. Always the Aussie. It's Custer, I guess, who's having his equipment seen to. And no, that's not a euphemism. That is actually what's happening. So we're going to have to wait until that is sorted out here. But, I mean, Gibraltar, I'm glad we brought it up because it was actually the map that we saw Misfits throw it away against FaZe in that lower bracket final on the line. Now, obviously, if you didn't see it, we'll try and break it down for you. The issue that we saw for Zebasai, who was playing Sombra in that game, is that he was working in this team of the Velociraptor comp, as we're now going to call it. I'm happy with that one. Better than Grandma's glasses. Is that
How dare you?
Zebasai was trying to 1v2 essentially. He was trying to find the 76 or the Ana on their own, but then he ended up having to deal with both of them.
Yeah.
He tried to get up on those high ledges using his translocator, but he couldn't burst down single targets, and that's a criticism we leveled at Sombra so far, is that despite her being an effective flanker and very, very strong in terms of her utility in negating the abilities of opponents, she doesn't have the one-hit kill potential that you do see from your McCree, sometimes your Genjis, and even Traces if you do it properly.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was supposed to talk about the game with Sombra yesterday. Of course, we ran into some technical issues, but
Mild issues.
Mild issues that we are resolving today. We will move forward on it. What I loved what they were doing with the Sombra, though, is they were running it with a Zenyatta, too, and the target calling was so beautiful because the biggest thing about Sombra that people mention is she doesn't have that burst damage.
Right.
But you know what helps a lot with that is someone with a Discord orb on them. So they were discording targets and then the burst damage. And her ultimate, everyone knows, is great, but also she helps so much in the ult economy because you hack that Reinhardt shields, and all you really want is that shield down to get your Earth Shatter. So you don't even have to use 2 ults.
Yeah, it was beautiful, actually. We saw at one point, it was Torque, actually, just walked up next to a Reinhardt after sort of flanking on Hollywood, just hacked him. Didn't have to use EMP to get rid of the shield. Shield was down, and then it was on for young and old yet again with the Earth Shatter.
Yeah, we talk about value being the name of the game, and when you can only when you use 1 ultimate in place of 2 or in place of 3, I mean, a lot of pros are just, I start talking about combinations that I'd like to see in the game. They're like, you can't use 3 ults. That's just silly. So even 2, they don't like to use. So I think Sombra will find her role in there, and we saw it a little bit with Complexity's pick of Sombra. That's exactly what they were trying to do, and it's a tactic that teams will run against NIP, because when you're against NIP, and we're talking just kind of broadly about the tournament now, you have 2 options. You can either run what they run and better, and no one's going to do that because these are the guys who invented it and they've just perfected it. They're not
going to get up pretty early in the morning to beat them in a tank comp.
Exactly. Or you can just try to define a new strategy. And I think Sombra is an integral part of that strategy. As we saw Complexity go on, and perhaps had those first maps held up, we would have seen a little bit different result.
I spoke to NIP about their experiences playing against Complexity, actually, just sort of while we're having a bit of a break on the stage. And they said, yeah, we weren't really ready for this. We didn't really expect to see Sombra played in this manner. But again, if there's a Sombra behind you, Frankie said this as well. He's like, yeah, if there's a Sombra behind me trying to hack me and I hear it, I don't have to really face her. I just flick my shield enough to sort of cut line of sight or just break off the hack, and then I can turn back to my team and not worry about it or let my other guys deal with it. But we're in the game, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Gibraltar to kick it off here. And finally, we get to see these 2 teams battle it out. Gibraltar was the scene of a bit of a slip-up for Misfits recently online. They definitely need to have their wits about them, and that first point is going to be heavily contested, Hex.
Absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to what they actually leave Spawn with, because this is a team in Misfits that will run a Widowmaker more than some other teams, and it does look like, hopefully on defense, we're going to see some Widow back on Gibraltar. She's good on offense, Gibraltar. She's good on defense, Gibraltar. 76 was the king of Gibraltar, still is now back in the meta. He's been patched. There's so much great high ground for him, and Widow's got great sight lines on this. I think that is a really interesting, cool composition that they're coming out with. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and then, you know, I think regardless of the map, regardless of the situation, I would be fine with Soon running Tracer.
Yeah, so Soon on that Tracer, like you said, a big fan of that one. I'm enjoying to see Zebasai here on that Widowmaker. Obviously, Hafakor's going to have a lot on his plate there because he's going to need to deal with both Zebasai and Nevix, if I'm honest, deal with both of those threats here, where most of the time Divas only have to deal with the 176 and get that done. Fnatic need to be careful. They probably need to work through the server room and not expose themselves and give sightlines to Zebasai, but they're out of the gates running. It's going to be triple tank for Fnatic, single tank for Misfits.
Fnatic will run mostly standard, or at least the post-patch standard meta here, as you mentioned. They're going to run defense. That is a hook and a half from Buds. They mentioned it on the desk, they weren't sure, and that Buds runs a great Roadhog. I watched him hit hook after hook yesterday, and it really invigorates his team. They call out, nice hook, and now they're out for blood.
Yeah, perfect start there as well. Almost a predicted hook coming in from Buds, and now Fnatic are going to seek the shelter of the server room and use it to get up on the high ground. It's going to be Custer working with Coolmat here. The dynamic duo is going to force Zebasai off that top ledge, and a biotic field thrown down just to keep them topped up as they work through.
So this is just going to be a soldier v soldier battle up here, and whoever wins this will likely have the advantage taking on second point. He gets discorded. Buds bullied off, has to give up the high ground. So much so that we just have to chill for a second and think about it.
That's right. I mean, a pause comes in. It's not a crash, ladies and gentlemen, so don't get too worried, but it does seem like a player or an individual having a couple of issues there as well with their PC, and that will be sorted out. But already we can start to see, we're getting a bit of a flavor for this matchup, and especially on this map here, Hex, it seems as if Fnatic really know what they're doing.
The next 30 to 40 seconds of this push is going to be so critical, and it has been since day one of Gibraltar. If you can get the momentum after first to get into second and get good shuttle phase momentum, you're money. That's perfect. But if you get stalled out trying to get into shuttle phase, we've seen teams just bash their head against the wall, trying to break in, trying to get any sort of momentum. Once the defense is established on mid shuttle and high shuttle, or Soldier 76 has to pay rent, essentially.
Right.
He lives up there. Then it's really difficult.
I think he actually bought a hotel there and he charged everyone else. So I think he managed to get those...
I think it was a monopoly situation where he
got like
paid
houses,
rent, then he got
a
yeah, exactly. So that's where he owns top of the shuttle phase. Also, make sure if they do capture first point, the spawns are very interesting. If the defenders get those forward spawns, be in a very difficult position to get hunted down and never establish.
I'm glad you brought that up there as well, because for defenders, this always has to play in the back of your mind. If you are killed maybe a couple seconds I guess, or near enough, I guess, to that point being taken. First of all, you are either spawned inside the shuttle room on the low ground. That's a big problem.
It's the worst.
Now, normally, the point won't be taken by that point and the enemy team's still capping, so you will have time to run on the shuttle. But what can often be even worse than that is if defending teams all get wiped just as the point is taken. So if they try and make a protracted engagement as they try and stop the capture from occurring, they're going to spawn outside the entire hangar room itself.
Yeah.
They'll have to filter in from the back. And if the attacking team have 5-6 players and they can move the payload quickly enough to where the shuttle is, the defending team are going to struggle to actually get up on top of the shuttle, because everyone can access the top of the shuttle. You can actually do it without a speed boost or anything, but you expose yourself very, very much to the front of the hangar bay by climbing on the boxes and getting on the wing. So you don't want that to happen either. It kind of sucks for defenders, and it's a kind of a part of this map that is always very, very treacherous. It's like, do I just not contest that last point one more time to set up properly? Probably yes. It's the same as what we're seeing from triple tank comps on King's Row, who want to hold at that first little archway after the first point. They don't go for the recontest. They don't go for a desperate last man push. They let it go, and they hold at the gate.
Absolutely. That transition from first to second is probably the most important transition in all of Overwatch. That's how important I think Gibraltar's second is. Also, there's times where attacking teams, if they win that fight pretty decisively, they'll send 3 people forward and wait for that cap to happen on first, so that they force the bad spawns, and they're waiting outside the door as this horrible welcoming party for the spawning defenders, and then you've already made it a 4v6, and then you get the cart past the shuttle phase, and once you're past that bridge, you have a really different angle of approach. We're getting back into it. You're doing great, Uber.
That's the dream. So are you, mate. Love your work. Anyway, Fnatic got to be set up on the top side here, and look at this. It's a bit of a do-si-do kind of behavior here. They've managed to establish defensive positions on the attacking side. And Buds is going to fall to Nevix here. He's actually on payload duty here. He's dealing with the remainder of the Fnatic squad there. So this is Fnatic splitting their forces maybe suboptimally now as they realize they need to go and deal with this payload.
They need to group up a little bit closer to the payload, because right now it's Misfits not giving them any targets to shoot at out there. Once they gave up that high ground, they're just going at it, and Soon goes wild in the back line, takes down Hafi and Vonethil. That is the power of Soon. He's got his pulse bomb all the way at the ready, but meanwhile, Zebo is also up there as well. Zebo eats a Helix.
You got to hit those, really. Zebo, obviously, got to hit heads as Widowmaker making now. Most of your damage is funneled into headshots and not body shots. Transcender's going to come in here, though, over the course of that fight for Hidan, trying to keep Misfits topped up. And Coolmat in a death duel here. He actually wins that one out. Custer comes to the rescue. Now Coolmat has high ground to go here for the attack fires. It's going to be Misfits going to have to give it up. Problem is, Zebasai had to get that shot on Coolmat to make sure Fnatic can't establish high ground control early on in Hangar.
But this is that all-important transition, and with 3 quick kills towards the end from Fnatic, that cleanup comes up onto Zebo, and now they're in a great spot for the hangar phase. All you want to do is deny the defense from setting up on this high ground. They're already taking bridge away. That's why the offense is set so far forward. They're spawning in the back. It's very difficult to come out there. So already, this is Fnatic in a great position for second stage.
Yeah, Soon's waiting in the wings there as well. Nice little pulse bomb thrown in the back, but it's actually nullified there. It may have hit Stoop's shield, and now Soon's caught sort of behind enemy lines. Needs to get out. Buds is going to come in with a whole hog here and try and force Misfits back. And this is the European squad being prevented from establishing control inside the hangar room. A lot of Fnatic, they're very preoccupied with high ground. They're sitting their front line up there just to make sure that Misfits can't sit tight.
They're just getting body right now. This is a very late tactical visor as well. Gets completely shut down. Buds is hitting hook after hook. We talked about how the DPS can carry. A person that can shut down the DPS is a Roadhog. That is a hook onto Soon. That is a hook onto Nevix as well. That is enough so that they can take the second point. They are flying through Gibraltar.
That's brilliant stuff there. Misfits not given a moment to draw breath at all. they had a Roadhog, he wouldn't even be able to take a breather. That's how blistering Fnatic have been so far, pushing forward. And now they're out of the hangar phase. It's either very, very quick or very long on Gibraltar, and you never know which it's going to be. Fnatic know that that's how they're going to control this game. Cooler falls there as well. Custom manages to pick him out of the mix there. And now Fnatic established forward positioning as they work the payload up around the bend.
They've been bleeding a little bit here. When was the last time you saw Misfits fight together as a team in the last couple minutes? It has not been existent. They are running this triple DPS and kind of scattered around. It's part of the style of their strategy, but it has not been working out. Right now, they're lucky to just slow things down, but that hook should bring it back as Stoop finishes off. Matt on the high ground trying to clean up with his tac visor. They did burn Soundbearer, get a couple kills off it though. Great position to get some progress done on this payload.
Yeah, that's what the kills are coming in regardless. It's mostly from the front line there. Stoop goes to double, finds Soon and Heaten, two important parts of Misfits' lineup. And now Buds as well wants to work around the back of Skipjack's shield. He's realizing he's got no protection himself. He might have the shield, but no one's watching him. He's going to have to go aggressive instead. Earthshatter comes down, but he is cut down before he can capitalize. And now a desperate Transcendence comes in from Heaten.
It should do enough to stall out. Soon is going to have to play Godlike on his Tracer, but he runs into yet another hook. This kill feed has been all red for the most part. It is completely one-sided. I have to say there that comms have to be a part of that. They look like a set of individuals, not an Overwatch team.
I saw Cooler 1v5 on Lucio. He booped Fnatic off the payload and then got absolutely eviscerated. So perhaps that was maybe ill-advised. But again, he said that Soon had to play like a god, but what's a god to a king when Buds comes in with a hook, nails it? Not much a Tracer can do about that one when she's caught up by the boss hog.
Do you think part of the strategy for running triple DPS who can all sort of do their own thing is because comms are a little off, or does one lead to another, or is that coincidental?
I think it leads to it. I think it leads to that. I don't think anyone goes in saying, hey guys, we can dispense with the comms and we can dispense with the academic nature of Overwatch and just go solo hunting. I don't really think that's the plan. I just do know that it's much more of a democratic calling situation right now on Misfits, where we're hearing a lot of talk coming from Skipjack, a lot of talk coming from Soon as well as Zebasai. Obviously, Zebasai was the caller, I believe, for Sweden at the World Cup, so he's got experience in that regard, and obviously was calling earlier on from the Lucio position, but I don't think it's an optimal setup for Misfits there as well, and they look shaky at best.
Yeah, I was listening to Fnatic's comms and Custa was doing a little calling, and I gotta say, if I had my druthers, I would take an Aussie doing my calls. It really just amps you up. There's something about the cadence and the tone. I think you guys have a good chance.
We just get excited really easy. Not much happens in Australia. Sometimes we see an emu go past on the highway and we get pretty hyped about that as well, but...
Emu hype, yeah, for sure.
So when we get some Overwatch, I've been criticized all the time for being too excited, but I'm definitely happy to own that there. It's especially when you have teams of this caliber as well, but Misfits seems to be a step behind. I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit more, but I want to see if this Winston goes through from Skipjack. This could be very interesting here. I don't love it playing against Buds on a Roadhog here, but if you can, I guess, unseat defenders and access the high ground comfortably, fine. He's going to get shredded by a D.Va as well, though.
This is something I used to see teams run when 76 was still in the meta. I believe Reunited tried to run this to little success. The reason they're running this dive composition is they expect a soldier on that high ground, and they're probably going to be 100% correct that Cool Matt's going to be up there. What you want to do is send your Winston in, send both divers in, and then if they fail to get it done, you still have Zebo on the Widow to try to clean up. That's exactly where he's looking.
This is an interesting turn of events here as well, because Skipjack, of course, on the Winston, but Nevix is on the Genji. We have hardly seen any of it. I think we saw it from Nicola actually earlier on from Unwanted, but that's been the only other time, and that was, to my understanding, not very effective from him. So, bit of a dive comp here with the Winston and the Genji, but again, Zebasai not getting any traction. Hooked in by Buds, he's done and dusted.
They are looking for Matt, but Matt is just hiding behind the glass in that room up there, so they're not going to be able to unlatch him, so that strategy has to be rethought of now. The dive comp does not have a target at the moment.
No, that's the problem. I mean, and again, D.Va, if Africa wants to, he can always peel for his backline, and they're using the server room to break those lines of sight. So, it's very, very hard. And Misfits have to commit heavily, far more heavily than they'd like to, even on a dive composition here. Soon, playing point at the moment, he's up on that payload, but mostly just keeping it contested, just being a presence. Zebasai hoping to get some look at this position, though. First defensive matrix, then it was a Reinhardt shield even there from Stoop. Hafikul maybe biting up more than he can chew, though.
They are going to get Hoppy down here, so that is the one pick. Zebo is able to take him down. They've traded back and forth. As Soon did take down Buds, too, another giant threat. However, Hoppy and Custa grab a couple kills of their own, so it's about 4v4 down there now. This should end up favoring the offense pushing through, because Widow should clean up in these situations.
I'm about as underwhelmed as Daria at a bar mitzvah watching Zebasai play right now. This is not good at all. I'm not seeing headshots. I'm not seeing him taking responsibility and getting final blows. He's just doing damage, which is going to be healed up ultimately. And you can be as acrobatic as you like, Zebo, but you're going to get cut down halfway through anyway. Buds has been all over it again. Hook goes in onto his head, and there's nowhere to run for the Omnic Monk.
it's very difficult to be playing support in these kind of compositions because both your DPS are off on their own. You have a third DPS with Widowmaker who can't help you out in the back line. Being a Zenyatta, you're a sitting duck. You saw it there, got cleaned up. They're only running the one tank, and that's not even a tank who's hanging out with you either. So it's Cooler and Hadan. You're on your own. Save each other, I hope.
I don't know, really. The problem is now Soon gets at least a bit of high ground, but a position to flank. He's got to get up close to do damage. He's not a sniper, that's Zebasai. And now we're going to have a sound barrier come out for Fnatic. They're looking healthy, they're looking strong, coming forward in this fight. Happy always leading the charge, and Soon has no choice but to back away. He needs to at least establish some sort of flanking position, but that hasn't worked out thus far. Fnatic are staying together. They're turtling up with these big tanky front line, allowing Coolmat just to poke through the gaps with solid damage.
We do finally see some change. He does realize the Widow has not been getting the value that they need off it. He will switch to a Zarya instead. I do not dislike the Zarya thing because you can save people from hooks, and they've been struggling with hooks.
Nevix is going to have to go in here as well. Needs to worry about the aforementioned hooks, but still he gets himself a Dragon Blade kill on towards Happy-Cool here. But that's the least of Misfits' problems right now. It's a nano boosted Stoop, and he's coming straight forward now. Nevix able to avoid him, and Hook comes in. Buds is not missing those so far. Yet another one connects. That Roadhog's been instrumental for Fnatic for swatting away these flanking heroes for Misfits. This light on tanks, heavy on damage comp is not working when Buds is working overtime himself. When
we talk about Roadhogs, we talk about Himsy, we talk about Hardblue. Buds is throwing his name in that hat. I watched him play yesterday, and I cannot remember a hook where he had the target in sight that he missed. Yes, there's blind hooks. He's trying around corners, hoping someone's there. But he's essentially hitting every hook that he has the target in his sight, and that has become a huge problem. It's very likely why you see the Zarya pick here, because the allied shield can save someone from a hook, at least momentarily. That's still the only switch they've really run. Actually, Nevix now off the Genji onto a Soldier 76, so they are trying to switch things up, perhaps a little too late.
Look at that, that's the closest Soon's been to getting rid of Coolmat, and he just pops out a Biotic Field, but now progress might be being made, but Soon, he's going to shut this one down. It's a spanner in the works, a stick in the spokes, whichever one you like. It's going to be an Earth Shadow to come down now, and still more work to be done here. Coolmat does eventually capitulate there to Skipjack, and Heaton doing work from up on high. Happy going to be desuited here, forced to back away, and Skipjack going to give him a shocking reception as soon as he comes out. 3 seconds remaining, and Misfits will just get that point, but it's going to be in overtime.
They've finally got it. They do also have some nice ultimates to work with that. Even if the defense gets set up on this bridge or on the shuttle on this high ground, that is one of the places where Primal Rage can be hugely impactful, really disrupting the defense setup. And this has to be just finally some good calling right now. When you see a Zenyatta in the kill feed as much as you are, Hadan is a great Zen, but that also means they're focus firing, they're calling discords, and they're cleaning up targets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's very, very important how you move that orb around. If Misfits don't want to play tanks, they need to know how to deal with them, and Zenyatta is a key to unlocking that strategy. Happy-Cool right now being kept out by the long-range barrage here. Zebasai has gone over towards Desire. A bit of a signature for him now on Misfits as a flex player. And he's got a Graviton Surge ready to rock here in a moment. Pulse Bomb will be there. The Big Bang, haven't seen it yet this tournament. Going to be important here to get some damage to stick to Fnatic.
With how fast Overwatch moves, I was about to say old school combo Big Bangs. It's been a couple weeks
since
we've seen it. Yeah, it's been a while, but they are going to get the Transcend in there. It does come off. Soon only takes out Bonneville there, but that is both supports down as Custa falls as well.
Pretty convincing fight there for Fnatic. Custa didn't have a chance to actually use the Transcendence, and it wouldn't have mattered against the burst damage coming from the Big Bang anyway. Happy-Cool hangs around and gets a kill on towards Nevix, but he'll spawn close back enough and be able to join his team now. Again, the Hanger phase circumvented very quickly by Misfits. They're on the road. They've got 2 minutes 45 on the clock here. It's time to get serious.
Custa does have his nano boost at the ready, not necessarily the perfect targets for it up just yet as Matt has yet to spawn. It seems like all the momentum now in favor of Misfits since they finally broke that first point. Running pretty well right now, but Hoffy does take down Skipjack. That is going to turn things in their favor as D.Va is a pretty solid counter to Winston.
Yeah, I mean, Happy's been desuited now as well, so it's just bunny blasting action coming out from him. And so far, it's going to be enough here. He should be able to get enough damage if he sprays across. There's a nice little rapid-fire function on that weapon. More than it probably should have, if I'm honest with you. But Happy can get his resuit and get back into Evangelion mode. It's going to be Custa also. Now switching over towards the Ana here. Does have a nano boost available.
He's got it ready. Matt is only at 50% though, so we will not see a boosted soldier. Perhaps maybe throw it on the old-timey Stoop target. Stoop does throw down the Earth Shatter, and they are cleaning up. That is just an execution. Another hook on a Skipjack. Buds is running wild.
If it's not a sleep dart on towards Soon, it's a hook. You know, Fnatic have so many ways to deal with these flankers here, and they seem so confident. Oh, you're not getting away now. Zebasai is going to be cut down, and Stoop is going to send him for a home run there just to finish the job. And now Misfits tried to push deep. They tried to catch Fnatic off, but now they've allowed the North American squad to establish. They've set up here on the payload, and it's rolling back in the direction of Misfits. That's disastrous. So they've only got 1.5 minutes left to finish the map, and Fnatic have a big time bank.
At this time, they need to find a way to dislodge Cool Matt because he's up top. He's going to get that attack visor boosted any second now. That they did not deal with him in the back. He is probably peppering them with a ton of damage right now. They are throwing every ult they have at it, and they are getting purchased.
As Everside probably thought he was going for a mug shot there, he's put up against the wall and had to just stand still as the whole hog came through, and Buds had him pinned right up there. Didn't need to throw darts at the picture on the back of the toilet door. This was enough to get the job done. And now Buds will set up forward positioning again. Misfits have some ultimates. As a sound barrier, it's a pulse bomb, and Nevix does have the tac visor to go with, but there won't be a big bang here. Zebasai already letting loose on that Graviton earlier on.
The right side ledge might as well have a sign that says hit scan heaven, because that's where McCree's love to be, that's where Soldier 76 loves to be, that's where Riddle loves to be. You have to clear that up.
Oh, that's nasty!
Oh God, Hoppy.
There's 2 kills with that self-destruct there as well, and both the supports, that's quite importantly now as well. Misfits is being gutted from the inside out. It's an implosion there. And we've seen those Diva ults be so important. And Misfits as a team who have said, we defy the triple tank comp. We want to break it. We want to remake it into something of our own. It's not working out. Fnatic just seem to be able to play it very nicely.
Well, they've got 4 ults to Fnatic's 1 right now. That one being an Earth Shatter that could put a wrench in their plans, but they should win this just by numbers plans.
Shadow's going to come in here as well. It's going to be Soundbar around towards Skipjack. He's looking to get into the back, and Nevix 2 kills. That's before he gets the attack visor going. He'll add a 3rd to that brace, and Hapakul's going to be surrounded on all sides. Misfits forced to push in overtime now. Fnatic will have multiple chances to get a bit of a reinforcement on towards that last point and stall this one out. They probably want to push together now on this first occasion, but that overtime is ticking down. The payload's on the move, and now Buds on the payload going to be stalling it out a little bit more. Stoop forward, charges back in towards spawn, probably for the health here now. It's Fnatic trying to make something happen. Might even be a switch here for Stoop. No, just wanted the health. And go back for the reinforce.
This becomes so difficult because Nevix is on that high ground over top, but that's exactly what you want as a stalling out team. You get that first kill. That is Stoop taking down Skipjack. That means this explosion is going to get a lot of work done. Just zones them off the cart.
Nice lead on. It's going to be Fnatic to take that first map in, I'd say, convincing fashion there. Obviously, the Diva ultimates are a deterrent if you don't want to stand on that payload as well, but interesting by Stoop. When he went out to reinforce, he stepped onto the payload, took a lot of damage, charged back into spawn, got a quick heal back up because he knew he had no healers alive at the time, and was able to get back on towards the payload and use that shield to good effect there. So that's a point where we can see a lot of stall happen for a very prolonged periods of time. I think we saw it actually between Misfits and FaZe, but it didn't need to happen there as Fnatic had the key ultimates in play. And what happened, Hex? That last stretch, we really saw Misfits ground to a screeching halt.
Well, I want to talk about the point you talked about. He charged back into spawn and then came out because he then got the essential kill to set them up to close out that map. And had he not make the decision to go back and get healthy before he comes out, he doesn't take out Skipjack. That shield's not down for the ultimate. They don't have to retreat behind and get off the cart and end up losing that map. And it's because I think the communication must have been there. They had someone on the cart said, I'm Lucio, I can stall this out. Go ahead, get back into spawn, get healthy, and come back out. It's a crucial moment. It's one of those very small factors that ends up winning games, but otherwise, they might have been able to complete that. And I think what Fnatic did really well there that Misfits maybe didn't do on their defense was, we're going to give up ground. We lost. Let's not trickle. And what I saw from Misfits is after they lost first point, they lost everything until very, very last because they just didn't coordinate to say, let's fight as 6 at once. And maybe that's not what the comp runs to, but at some point, you have to keep 6 people alive.
But at some point, someone has to say, hey, boys, let's just step back. Yeah. Don't fight.
Yes.
That's maybe not happening. We talked about this whole triple DPS composition there, which obviously Zebasai switched off of, but the concept of trying to make a solid impact in terms of getting kills. You know, something that manifests itself in the game. It's like, I'm doing well, my team's doing well. But we saw Misfits just chase it too far. A great example was Misfits looking to try and chase kills and stall Fnatic out. They pushed all the way to the end of the map. For Fnatic, they just came together in a bit of an enclave, just backed up there, used the shield and said, we're not going to lose any more people to you now. We know the payload needs to move a long way forward, so we're going to allow you to go back to it. We're going to set up here and establish an ironclad grip on that last stage.
Well, it makes a ton of sense that the next map will be Ilios. That is not a game mode, perhaps, that Fnatic is very good at.
No, I'd agree. I think
they'd agree.
I hope they do. Well, I mean, to be fair, they already tried to ban out 2 of those control maps, as it were. Yeah, look, honestly, I haven't minded it. I thought maps like Ilios used to work well for the old Fnatic when McCree was in vogue, and obviously IDDQD was at the helm here, but things have changed. I don't know, we'll see a different composition. I'd like to see maybe a Sombra for Misfits. I know people might think I'm stretching it, but we did see Misfits employ Sombra extensively, at least on Lijiang Tower previously in the monthly melee. So I don't know if that's going to be the case here as well. We're not jumping in quite yet, guys. We're going to see the picturesque scenes of Ilios, but a brief pause here, just sorting out a sound issue with one of the players. But I'd like to see that. I want to see that pick come out.
I'm a little curious what Fnatic will run. They ran somewhat standard yesterday when they were running on King of the Hills. They still ran a D.Va, they still ran a Roadhog, and the one change is they were definitely running more Zenyatta than they were Ana, of course. I think Custom prefers the Zenyatta. I think a lot of support players prefer Zenyatta.
Like, Kabal said that as well. Just as he got off the disc, I'm like, good to see you on Zenyatta. He's like, I love Zenyatta, man.
And we know from talking to support players that they're DPS players at heart, and they want to heal, but they also want to kill people. Totally understand it. I think Ilios is a good control map, especially for what Misfits has been running lately, because I think Genji has always been good on Ilios. There's several stages that really benefit him. There's one stage on Ilios where even a Widowmaker can come into play, and if you don't have a good answer to deal with that Widowmaker, which essentially ends up being a Genji on the other side, that they can run wild as well. And we've seen that they prefer running Widow, they prefer running Genji. They're going back to somewhat comfort picks. And of course, on all control maps, Tracer can have a big play on it. And even though that composition didn't necessarily work to its greatest effect on payload, it is a much more King of the Hill composition overall running 3 DPS.
And it's so interesting because these two teams have very diametrically opposed approaches actually to playing the game so far. Fnatic love to group up. How many of their players were all together deep in enemy territory up on that high balcony, right? They pushed like, I guess, a phalanx of 4 players up to try and get rid of the backline, whereas Misfits, by definition of their comp, likes to spread out and flank. So very, very interesting to see how these two, I guess, play styles intersect. And on a map like a control map, do you think that the team that sticks together more is going to be successful, or would you rather see teams spread out, take real estate?
I think that if you're sticking together more, you are being more effective against the flankers who they're going to throw at you, because you're calling there's a Tracer, and we've seen Bud's not missing hooks. So if you're calling there's a Tracer, he's going to find that Tracer. The one thing that the comms have worked out well in favor of Fnatic is they will listen to the call of die. When they've lost a fight, they know that's it. They want to fight together. They're not going to try to scrap it out. They're not going to stagger. We lost 2, that's it, die.
So they're not going to need Leonidas to kick them into the well.
No, they will not. They will jump right into the well and go down grinning. That is one of the calls that they're doing. But it is still a game mode overall that they've struggled with. But we saw them on Lijiang struggle on Lijiang. Maybe Ilios would be a different thing. Maybe Buds is going to drop people to their death.
I always felt like Lijiang was a little bit separate to Ilios and Nepal in terms of what teams wanted to ban and what they wanted to play. But we'll have to see if it plays the same. Fnatic are going to stick together now for the start there, and poke damage is going to be a factor here coming out. You notice here as well that Stoop is well forward for Fnatic, and the hook doesn't quite connect on the board soon. But Buds is more than happy to go for those long-range hooks. You miss 100% of the hooks you don't attempt.
Well, and every 6 seconds you get an attempt at a hook. Skipjack gets himself a little too deep, and Buds punishes him. He knows that shield is down now, probably wait for the second hook. No need. Takes down both tanks. Buds running wild yet again. That means Cool Matt is going to take down Hudana, has no protection for him, no protection also for Cooler, and soon as Stoop swings the hammer, that is a completely one-sided fight for Fnatic.
I can just hear, from here, Slash of flipping tables and tearing out his man bun hair by hair. He is hating this, of course. He's one of the biggest, I guess, opponents of what Roadhog can do, but it is a Roadhog meta, as it was pointed out by Harblue, and so far Buds has been embodying the effectiveness that Roadhog can have in a solo aspect. Now Nevix does have attack visor ready to go. He's going to let it rip now, getting into the backlines here as well. Gets Custer straight away, finds a priority target. Bonafil, not much he can do. He's trying to hop, skip, and jump out. But Soon as well combining nicely between Soon and Nevix. Fnatic have crumbled.
It's a really nice angle that Nevix took, knowing that Soon is going to be the distraction in there. And if Soon doesn't even, for me, necessarily have to get kills, he has to cause chaos. When he gets hooked and is eliminated, that's when they're going to struggle. But if he can stay alive and make them looking around, that's when Nevix can capitalize on that.
And again, splitting the focus of Fnatic as well, making it very hard for Fnatic just to have eyes front and center here. Misfits obviously working a lot out of the periphery and just distracting him, forcing some of these cooldowns out, especially hooks and the like, which is very comfortable if you know there's no hook for that small 6-second window. Fnatic again, look at them, moving together as a group. They all go in towards a side room. They're going to brute force their way out towards the point now. We're going to see a Transcendence used here by Hiran, and Coolmack going to benefit from the sound barrier, but for how much longer? Pulse Bomb doesn't connect onto anyone, really. It's just Bonafil that falls, and Stoop did well with the shield. And now Cooler going to try and challenge forward as well. Soon gets the second, finds Buds, gets the third. Soon running right now, finds Coolmack here, an important part of the comp, and Cooler put to sleep here and won't be doing too much in the meantime. But still, Misfits able to hold Fnatic at bay. The Tracer of Soon, impactful as heck.
We talked about individual individual efforts perhaps winning this for Misfits, and that's exactly what you see. That's exactly why they pick control maps to begin with anyway. They can get carried by their Tracer, by their 76. The fights they're winning have been those two, but Hoppy comes in huge, takes down Nevix.
How does that happen? Hafacool lets the self-destruct go, and in my opinion, a very suboptimal location surrounded by walls, and still Coolmat falls. Maybe just mistimed the detonation, I'm not sure, but there we go. No mistiming there. Cooler falls to Buds' hook, and Fnatic are already back on towards the point now. It's 30-74. Finally flipped back in favor of the North American squad, but Misfits have definitely done some legwork here.
It's a very smart charge, though, just to get him off the point so you can finally flip it over. This is one of the most difficult points to flip back over because, as you see from that aerial shot, it is a huge area that you have to vacate the enemy team from, so a nice charge there. Will flip it back over. They will be nearly about 15% behind when the next fight ensues, but Misfits probably about 1.5 fights away, if that's a term we can use, to winning this first stage.
I'll accept that, no worries. Nevix going to come around the back there. Attack visor used again. You can see Fnatic trying to make themselves scarce here. Nevix forced to just, I guess, satisfy himself trying to get rid of Buds, but the damage is not going to be there in Custer. This is up close and personal care here, but he's not able to heal Hafacool through it, and he then sends an orb his way while he is laying prone on the ground. Buds now, whole hog coming through, but he's discord and still doesn't bother him too much. He eventually will fall to Skipjack, and now it's just Stoop there behind his shield. Reinforcements are streaming in, but Fnatic can't allow Misfits to get control. It's an even game, though, 75-74. Misfits flip the point back.
They will flip it back, and this is what you see out of Fnatic, why they end up struggling on King of the Hill and control maps. One and the same, of course. It's because they're good at first, and then as the map goes on, as they struggle, comms break down. They're not listening to each other. They're not working as well together as they did in the beginning. You see them try to make hero plays, and those don't necessarily work out. They work best when they work together soon. In a great position here for a hero pulse pop.
Yeah, Shield going to get switched around, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be Bonathan and Custer fall. The three-piece coming out from Soon here. He even finds Stoop. He literally grabs the beating heart out of Fnatic's chest and crushes it now. It is going to be the first point going over towards Misfits, a close one, but we're definitely seeing the mostly European squad feeling a little bit more comfortable on Ilios.
Yeah, Ilios is a good map. Control maps are good for Tracer. That's bottom line. Bottom line, control maps are good for Tracer.
Camera angle, 10 out of 10. Oh, I thought we would go for something really artistic there as well, like a soft fade on the Misfits name. But yes, Misfits now as well looking a little bit more chirpier. Obviously feeling more comfortable with that one. Again, Soon is such a impactful factor here as well for the side of Misfits. Fnatic have Buds, of course, so we see how effective he's able to be, but Tracer generally, if she's not hooked, can give Roadhog a lot of trouble. She can obviously dash in between the hooks if you predict them well enough. It's great, and of course, he's going to soak up a lot of that damage, give you pulse bombs, and also give you kills. Very nicely lobbed.
Well, you saw that towards the end, is that Soon was just avoiding Buds. He just wasn't going to be near him. He'd be on the other side of the map. I will take what you give me. As long as I'm in the fight, I'm causing a problem. And he was. They had no great answer for him as we jump into second stage.
Yep, going to be on a lighthouse here now as well. And Nevix up on that high ground. Again, going to try and control from above here with the Soldier 76. And you can see just how much damage he can do without committing himself much to the fight. It's a very low-risk, high-reward scenario. And that's hit him with a double there. Nicely done. Custer and Coolmat full. Happy gets the double as well. And now Nevix has to commit to this point itself. Cooler finds Bonathan now. It'll be Stoop and Hafacool now, just trying to establish themselves on this point. Bionic field thrown down. Nevix is going to be forced away from that healing haven, and Stoop takes him out with a swing of the hammer.
Great tank synergy there, just really shutting down his attack abilities. But Soon is going to come in on the cleanup yet again. Hoppy does get out, and he bunny blasts down Soon. Was that what happened?
Yes, he just caught him with like one shot somehow.
It's a powerful gun. The power of Buddy compels you.
I've seen everything now. I really have. Hafacool, obviously de-speeder for the time being, needs to charge up his mecha recall, so he needs to wait. Now Nevix going to go for the attack visor here. Not too many targets presenting. Loses 75% of that one. What are you doing, Nevix? It's a long walk off a very short ledge. Nevix wanted to go for a swim. It's not Super Mario Sunshine. It's Overwatch.
Well, they still do get a couple kills, though, as Cooler and Zebo do come in, so they have a huge advantage. Matt has to get out of there, stops for a little health, but he's getting chased hard, and that is Soon. That is the power of Tracer on these maps, especially if you get a little uncoordinated. She does not let people live when they try to run away. Matt was just a little bit late there. Interesting for the first time today, we see Buds on the McCree.
Yeah, I mean, this is groundbreaking, really. We never saw him play McCree back in the old Fnatic, and this is not so bad. I mean, Soldier 76 eventually has to commit himself to the main point to be effective, whereas McCree's going to do that anyway as a short to medium range hero. But soon, Sound Barrier, very, very confident going forward, trying to challenge down the Cowboy, and Coolmat now with attack visor from up on high. The shield from Skipjack can make it a little bit harder, and that's Nevix. He's going to Kobe the Helix rocket straight into his opposite number and get the finish.
They forced them onto this McCree, though. I don't think it's something that they want to run. It is in direct response to Soon tearing them apart. It's as simple as, what is the problem? Right. It's Soon. What's our answer? I guess McCree, but it is no longer IDD McCree anymore. They're trying something different with Buds on it. We'll see how effective he can be.
Again, you're feeling pretty good if you recognize the enemy team is actually trying to counter-strat you in their picks. But Fnatic could make it work. The problem is Buds is a little bit vulnerable, to be honest, with how close up Misfits are happy to play here. Now Happy as well going to range far and wide. Looking for Nevix. Would like to drop him off the edge, but Nevix knows better than to allow himself to be forced back. Buddy Blaster coming in again. It's not going to be enough, though. Nevix coming in with the rifle. Standard damage, all you need to get rid of the D-Suiter Diva. And Misfits now being uncontested. Fnatic need to get that point back. Only 13%. This could be the last fight. And Misfits have a whole host of ultimates ready to go.
Fnatic's been playing right into Misfits' hands. They're forcing one-on-ones, and Misfits is winning every single one of their 1v1s. They have not had to use any ultimates so far, as you can tell by their bank. They are going to use this sound barrier to try to get in, is Fnatic, but it will be responded to by a bevy of ults.
Yeah, good sounds coming out there for the start of Misfits. It's all the kill ticks. That's all they need. And now Vonethil tries to test the point, but it won't be enough. Of course, one Lucio against the world is the only way it's going to be fair if Vonethil's in the driving seat, but still, Misfits will take that second round far more convincingly than the first here, and you can definitely see why Fnatic prefer not to play control maps.
You can count the amount of kills Fnatic had on one hand. Maybe two, depending if you're a six-fingered bandit.
If you're from Tasmania, maybe you can do it. Maybe have enough.
I don't understand that reference, but it still made me chuckle.
I'm not going to explain it on
It made me chuckle because you grinned while saying it, so I know that it made you happy somewhere.
Shout out to Tasmanians.
That makes me happy. My only reference to Tasmanian is the devil who spins around.
That's, yeah, obviously the animal, but I'm not going to explain it on stream here as well. Tassies will get it. They're probably going to hate me as well, but that's the way I
just making enemies. I'm making enemies all day.
That's what we do. We're not good at making friends, Hex. You just tolerate me. I appreciate that one. But you're special. You're a special individual. You can handle me. Not many people can. But let's jump on towards Ruins here as well. This might be the last one if Misfits are going to continue on this current trajectory, which to me seems quite positive. We do again see the McCree from Buds, though. Coolmat going over to the Zarya now.
I would not mind to see Coolmat actually play the McCree. I think he's a great McCree.
Have to call him the Genji, though, as well. So this is kind of what made a name for himself now. Fnatic being a bit flexible and allowing him to go back to the pick on the Ninja.
Well, I think you have to try something because nothing you're doing is working, so it's smart to just at least try to mix it up. And as you mentioned, Hoppy did make his name very much on a Genji in some of the smaller tournaments too, a former Ninjas with Attitudes player. But right now, you can tell they're scrambling. They're scrambling for answers, and so far still not finding any. Both DPS down, Hoppy and Buds die first.
Yeah, Hidden gets dropped there, and now it's going to be Fnatic coming back. It's more the tanks doing the heavy lifting, though. Stoop and Coolmat getting it done, but soon again, he is just terrorizing this kill feed right now. He's actually got himself a pulse bomb already after those quick couple of kills, and he'll be able to establish some control. But Coolmat, known for his Zarya play, a couple quick kills, allowing Stoop to get on towards the point, who's not playing Reinhardt here as well. This is a big shuffle in picks for Fnatic, but they still keep the point contested. That's the most important part. The problem is, though, Misfits already capped it. So while this is being contested, Misfits are still gaining percentage. There's no reason for Fnatic to actually try and stall or maintain a presence right now.
No, tick, 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 as it does continue to go up right now. Stoop does end up getting this boost, trying to do something in the back. It is a little odd, not getting much done there. Skipjack's been alive, just hanging out alone on the point for the last minute.
I'm not sure how Skipjack missed that charge on towards the Diva of Stoop there as well. It wasn't exactly moving around, but still, it's not really going to matter as he got the shield anyway. And Nevix on that 76. Having to back up a little bit more here. This is very chaotic because of what Soon is doing here. It's very hard to get a read on these fights. Hafikool hasn't made the impact he needs to yet. To be fair, no Dragon Blade for him so far, but he hasn't been able to charge up that ultimate. Soon's had that pulse bomb for so long, and Happy's still waiting for his first Dragon Blade.
No Dragon Blade so far is kind of a problem in and of itself, though, because he needs to be able to get that charge up, needs to be doing the damage to already have a Dragon Blade. It's a bit of an issue. Costa does not have the boost for it either, so they are going to try here. Here comes a Dragon Blade off onto the Graviton. That is a giant ball of meat. The support ults come out, though, and save them.
Yep, I mean, you could have asked for a little bit more from Hafikool there as well. Maybe if he had a nano boost, he'd actually be able to cut through to Transcendence, but it was well timed by Hidan to get the healing ultimate in play for his team. Caster, the only player really now to get any kills for Fnatic at this stage, and he attempts a sleep dart. He lands that one, if I'm not mistaken there, but unfortunately he will eventually be cut down, and Misfits push forward. They take control. Very assertive positioning now from the European squad, and it's working like a charm. 87% to 0. It's a landslide for the Misfits.
A little differing opinions on the Fnatic squad if they should be running Ana or Zenyatta on King of the Hill. I don't think Custa is exactly thrilled that he is on the Ana. It has not worked out for them so far. He's not been able to get the boost onto his essential heroes that need it done. Already in overtime, this is Misfits map to lose.
Yeah, have a cool Tracer here as well, just to try and keep things rolling through. But Skipjack with a nice little double on the point there. Nevix comes in with attack visor, and soon we'll find one as well. Misfits, it's just a little bit comfortable for them right now. They're relaxing into this one, and control point maps. Ilios was definitely theirs to win, and they had it solidly in the bag. We got a third map here, and I couldn't be happier to see it between these two.
Those last two stages were completely one-sided, and you could tell that Fnatic was just going for anything. We need it to some answer. We have to find out something. What we're doing is not working. Their composition does not work on control maps. They don't like it. They're not good at it. End of story.
One thing I like that we're seeing from Fnatic is actually something that I think Energy pioneered first when we saw them play in APAC over in China, is that they were... Okay, so maybe it was sometimes to their detriment, but they were very quick to change comps. They said, if it's not working, we're going to establish that fact now and not be uncertain about it. We're going to switch it up and try and make something work. We saw Stoop play Reinhardt, he played D.Va, Hafnical was on the Genji for a little bit there as well, and that might also be why we saw Custa switch towards the Ana to try and enable that Nano Blade, I guess, combo.
Yes.
Would have been good to see, because when Hafnical did have the Dragon Blade without the Nano boost, he got one kill, and then Transcendence was enough to stave off the rest of the damage here. Now, I believe when you do have a Nano boost, you get a lot more damage across the line. You got more burst, and you can actually, get around that healing ultimate.
It is a different kind of style on King of the Hill. If you want to run it Ana, you're looking for those big group and team fights so that you can bio-grenade, one of the most powerful non-ultimate abilities in the game. You can get a group together, you can Nano Blade to chunk up those big groups and get team kills on ultimates. Otherwise, you want to run a Zenyatta, focus on single targets, get those calls going. This one's discorded, kill him, kill him, kill him. It's just a different kind of style thing. I think we mentioned before, most supports would prefer to play Zenyatta if given their choice. Some will play the Ana, but I think it's as simple as right now, you're going to see their coach talk to them that, guys, that's control. We know that we're not great on control. Let it go. We're moving on.
Yeah, and they banned the other two control maps out of the pool as well. So if you're Fnatic, you're feeling pretty darn comfortable going through. And well, history may well be repeating itself. This is the third time that these two teams have met in a tournament group stage, and the last two times it was a 2-1 scoreline to Fnatic. So they'd like to repeat that here. But yeah, Custa not really settling in so much. You have to play an Ana on a King of the Hill map a bit more like a Zenyatta.
Yes.
Because obviously Zenyatta has to duck in and out of fights and utilize the fact that he does have a quick shield recharge rate, despite having a very pitifully small pool and being very easy to hit. Ana, you have to play her like a Zenyatta, jumping in and out because you're much more vulnerable. Your mobility is the worst in the game, possibly the worst in the game, possibly worse than some tanks who also lack dash abilities. So even things like self-destructs as well. We always see Anas get caught up there in the kill feed
and
by
Zans.
that. Exactly. If you can't get away from that stuff, you're going to struggle. That's why it's not a great pick on control maps such as Ilios, but still, if you have a Genji, you want to make it work. But Fnatic shouldn't be too perturbed right now, Hex. I wouldn't be worried if I was them after what we saw from Gibraltar.
No, we're going back to their map pick as well. We're going to Dorado, so they chose it. You'd have to say that it would favor Fnatic to, yet again, 2-1 Misfits.
And Fnatic were one of the first teams to really pioneer a very interesting style of Dorado defense. That's how they beat Cloud9, actually, on that map in the American regionals before Gamescom. Now, the game's changed a lot since then, but take Mouse Sports as an example this morning. Very passive on Dorado, sitting right back towards the double doors and allowing the attackers to filter in. Fnatic, what we used to see from them, they would force themselves up on that right side there, up the stairs. They would challenge out an attacking team before they could establish themselves. Kind of like the way that teams used to play on King's Row on defense. They'd speed boost their team into an attacking team as they tried to set up. So Fnatic love the idea of throwing a spanner in the works and catching attacking teams on the wrong foot. They since changed their approach a little bit more now as Triple Tank and Mei became so much more prevalent in the meta. But this is the team. My point is, this is the team that has established this map so well in familiarity that they have been able to try so many different things and make them work. I expect to see them with a strong defensive hold to kick things off. Misfits have their work cut out for them, Hex.
It's going to be difficult for Misfits to get in on this. They are looking like they're going to run the double flankers yet again, those kind of comfort picks for Nevix and Soon, which can work, but can it work against Puds' Roadhog is the question, because he's going to be guarding that stairs. That is his area. I don't mind this, not strategically or anything, just because I want to see it, but Zebo, I think, is actually going to run offensive Widow.
Right, I mean, we see teams, and I play really nice Hanzo on this map, actually, attacking Hanzo, which really well. Oh, get wrecked! He don't catches the Fire Strike there as well. Wow, that's pretty nuts. It's 100 damage from the Fire Strike, so there's a little bit of extra damage coming in from elsewhere as well. Maybe a Helix Rocket from Coolmat.
Yeah, it's
but that's going to hurt the morning.
It's demoralizing. That's not how you want to open your day.
Wow. Well, Zebo's tight. Hoping to catch a little bit of a vantage point. You can see the rest of Misfits pushing around, and Soon's already deep flanking here. So there's a bit of a dive comp in Skipjack and Nevix, and Soon can back it up. Nicely done. He gets the assassination towards Cool. Oh, no. He gets taken down by Coolman, should I say. Not so nice. Not what you want. Misfits are going to have to wait for Soon to rejoin.
The biggest question I have is if Zebo struggles, will he be quicker to get off the Widow than he was on Gibraltar? I think he stuck on it way too long. He did switch up, and that was kind of the catalyst for them moving forward onto that. You cannot be stubborn in Overwatch in your hero compositions because you think it's going to work. A beautiful hook by Buds takes down Hadan. He's having a terrible day on Dorado.
Yeah, Buds, he was just like, he was trying to hook someone else and then turns around and smashes Hadan in the face there. And Fnatic, this is quite proactive, and what we're seeing with heavy tank comps now will always push toward the choke point. We talked about it earlier on, and our people do. But with Buds being up on that top right side, he's self-sufficient. He can get 1v1 and give you a 6v5 situation very quickly. So he can sort of play a solo role in that regard, but now going to rejoin his team. And Zebo needs to do some serious damage here, Hex.
Well, they finally are diving in. They're causing the chaos in the back lines. That opens things up for Zebo a little bit late on the deny from the Diva there trying to get in his face. And Zebo is doing some work, but the only kill on the other side of things is Buds, who takes down Soon. But that is too late as Hadan and Nevix had combined for 2 already. They are just on the cleanup crew. They are going to win this push.
And the thing about Widowmaker, it's all or nothing, right? Sometimes it's great, and you actually don't need to do too much with Widow to have a big effect. That one kill, he gets Bonafil as well. That was in mid-air, I believe. Zebaside just went up and picked off the Lucio. Look where he was. He was back towards his own spawn. That's got to be annoying. Nice from Zebo. Now starting to flex his muscles a little bit more. But my point was that pick on Custer from Zebaside to start things off was good. But now,
wrong. Come on.
He's going to have a taste of his own medicine. That's very aggressive.
You know that's where they're going to be. You know that's where the defense sets up. You might as well just...
This is like the Kermit meme right now. It's just a Sith Lord Hex coming out as well. It's like me, be nice. Also me, tell Zebo that was too aggressive. And go back to old Hex. I want old Hex back.
I mean, okay, you can set up on that one arch and that's fine, but you know that's where they are. You just serve yourself up on a platter. And the only way he could get away with it is if he switched off now, and then I could call it intentional, but that's just a very aggressive Widow play there. It's not slowing them down at all, though, as these flankers continue to get in a nice recall from Soon. They are bullying them off of the high ground with both DPS. I like that the DPS are combining their forces. That's what you want to do with your Winston. Winston has to be with both of his flankers there. Skipjack does pay his life for it. A pulse bomb comes in late.
The double! Coolman had himself attack visor as well there. I don't think even Soon expected to get 2 for 1, but he did, and that's going to make it impossible for Fnatic to re-establish that high ground control. That means that Zebo now can actually stand up there and be safe. Perhaps before he was being a little bit flippant, but that little double kill from Soon there, he always gets value from his pulse bombs, and that on its own has given Misfits this massive amount of progress here.
He's got the best pulse bombs in the game. I think you can empirically say that given data and just the eye test. He always hits them in clutch circumstances, generally gets 2 kills on them as well. They are going to trade out back and forth now as Nevix. It does take down Buds. Stoop is going to get a kill of his own as Hoppy finds himself in the backline murdering folk.
This is nice from Misfits so far. Now Fnatic can re-establish a little bit more here. The bubble being dropped down at the moment. A bit of shield coming in, but again, another pulse bomb hit on towards Coolmat. That's going to be the main way as Tracer, you kill a 76 when Biotic Field can be placed down, and still Soon sticking on him. I mean, Jim Morrison might be old, but he's pretty sprightly, and when he's AD strafing, it's hard to hit his Tracer. But get the sticky bomb, and you're laughing.
Well, Javi goes down there. They do end up holding this first point. And I think they've been most effective when they've actually utilized the dive comp to jump on people. That's how they got first point. It was all waiting for Skipjack to go in. And this is a composition predicated on chaos. Chaos and cleaning up the back line. And that's exactly what Soon and Nevix have done.
And it's really great to see an aggressive approach to the game working out instead of maybe a triple tank or just sitting back and taking it easy now. Look at this, there's a sound barrier for Misfits. It's an aggressive use. It facilitates them to go aggressive and maybe take some damage, but they're going to be alive after the fact now. And they're able to out-DPS Fnatic into submission. Soon now pushing ahead for those forward spawns, but it's bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. Nice recall though, keeps him alive, keeps him ticking, and Vonathil drops down.
They have to get all the way out. When you're running against this kind of composition that can dive so deep on you, when you lose one, when you want to disengage, you have to fully disengage. You might as well go back to your spawn because that's exactly where Soon and Nevix were hanging out. They have to be super careful. Skipjack's got the Primal Rage, Hadan will have Transcendence. Both of the flankers have their ultimates ready. They're looking for multiple kills. They're looking to close out this map.
I hope NIP are watching right now because Misfits are not playing Overwatch the way that they probably think it should be played. And look at Soon, he's lying in wait here. A pulse bomb on the back. Fnatic would be so nasty. He's waiting for his chance. He's going to go in, puts it on the ground. What does he get? No one, but a lot of damage being spread there. Nevix drops to Coolmat, and now Soon, he's caught between a hog and a hard place, but he still gets the kill there. Nicely done. The high ground control for Misfits has been so good. They're taking the fight to Fnatic, and it's working.
It's a lot less individual play. Yes, it looks like it because Nevix and Soon are all over the place picking out targets, but if you look, there's always a Winston with them. They're together. So 2 of the 3 dive composition key components have been hanging out together, so much so that we have to catch our breath and pause.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm getting a little bit overexcited here, which I have a tendency to do. I mean, Misfits are playing very differently to what we started seeing being the status quo. And I spoke to Wins, actually, their coach, who's the brother of Kenny S, actually, from CSGO. But I spoke to him, he said, look, I'll be honest with you, we're not enjoying the way that a lot of teams at the top level are wanting to play Overwatch. We respect that they want to play triple tank and it's robust, right? So it's good, it works, and it's safe. But we defy that. We refuse to play this way. We want to play our way. And a team that not only wants to play their own way, but a team that makes it work. That's the difference between a team that's trying to meme and play just troll picks and actually redefining a meta which we thought was going quickly circling the triple tank drain.
I'm happy with it. I deny your reality and I substitute my own. If you don't want to play that way, no one's making you. I think a lot of teams fall into the trap of this hero got buffed, this hero got buffed, this is the way to play, this team is very successful with how they play. We have to emulate that. But Overwatch is a very deep game. There's counters upon counters, there's styles upon styles. You can play aggressive, you can play defensive, you can play dive comp on maps that don't necessarily support dive comp. And if you find a style that suits you, that you enjoy playing and works for you, all for it, go for it. I enjoy watching super aggressive play, whether it is triple tank, whether it is flankers. I love watching people just go and try to get kills. I mean, it's FPS, it's first-person shooter, not let's sit back and wait for ults.
And there's only, I have one thing on my wish list for Misfits, right? I want the jacked up dive comp with D.Va instead of Xayah. I want Winston, D.Va, Genji, and Tracer. I want them going deep. I want them going straight into the back line and actually getting kills there. That was kind of one of the things. There's a few people sort of theory crafting the current meta and seeing D.Va being improved and seeing that be potential. I want to see that. Obviously, Xayah, for Zeverside, pretty comfortable. He's a very, very good Xayah player, as many of these guys are. But still, that would be nice to see that added in. But it doesn't seem to be necessary right now because obviously you give your dive comp that much more versatility and durability by shielding the Winston. I understand that's why it's done. Which is fine, but I'd like to see even more aggression thrown in. Misfits seem to be showing us that it does work.
Well, it's a bit of a cleanse, too, because it takes the Discord a little bit out of the equation. Absolutely. If you're running in teams into Discord. And she's just a little more useful. As they do try to close this map out, they have pushed them all the way back into their spawn. Hidan got the last kill before we went to break, and they're going to struggle to stall this out.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the Buzz just walks straight in and meets his maker immediately soon as well. With a lot of freedom on this point now, it's unlikely he's going to be focused down. Pulse Bomb just thrown wherever. Doesn't really matter too much. I think the shield, the wall might have made it hard for him to stick in a Graviton surge, but Nevix double Dragon Blade now starting to run a ride over that last point. Have to call the Custer falling in short shrift. It's now going to be Buds. Throws himself onto the point. That's a Discord orb here. Recalls off, jumps back on. Winston going to be joining him there as well. It's going to be Coolmat to challenge in here. They're both going to follow. That payload's going to get home. 2 minutes 11 for Misfits. Big improvement, definitely, over the last couple of maps, and they are looking hot to trot now, as Dorado will be seeing a second half momentarily.
I think Fnatic has to be a little bit stunned by that result. Their defense on payloads is generally much better than that. They kind of were maybe not prepared for what Misfits wanted to run against them. Maybe they were and just could not deal with it, but those DPS went off, and I want to give Hidan some credit too, because very rarely do you see a Zenyatta that much in the kill feed, and that's kind of what he's known for. He can crush on that Zen.
Big TF2 background from Hidan there as well. He's been around for a long time. I mean, a lot of that team is Zeverside as well, is often a name thrown around for his sort of TF2 fame. And there are multiple players in that stage that we could sort of dwell on. But so this composition from Misfits seems to be effective against a triple tank composition that Fnatic are using. But I caution you, Misfits did try a similar approach to NIP recently. I know it's online, but against NIP, the masters of this tank stack and this triple tank or even quad tank sometimes comp, and it didn't work. They lost that series fairly convincingly. So although this is working now against Fnatic, I think Fnatic are playing like a mini NIP in their approach here. They're using a lot more Zenyatta than we probably would ever expect to see NIP use. I'd say curb your enthusiasm now and wait on this one. But for now, Misfits are looking good in this group. And if this sort of plays out, they'll be topping it.
Great television show.
Yeah, love it, right?
Yeah, it's the best. I think I agree with you to an extent. I think Misfits would struggle against NIP moving forward, but I think we will not see the exact same composition from Misfits. They are a team that will toy with the Sombra, and we've seen Sombra be, in theory, which is a term I've been using lately, in theory, effective against triple tank.
Well, you said they're going to mix things up. Look at this. A Junkrat for Nevix. That is interesting. That is almost cocky, in my opinion. We've seen teams use it. I know that Rogue like to use it a lot on Temple of Anubis, or at least they did. I haven't seen Junkrat yet on this meta, Hex. This is exciting.
Well, one of the knocks against Junkrat is two things. One, that he can buff up Zarya, which is not that big of a deal because one, they're not running a Zarya. Two, is that he helps give free damage so that supports can buff it up, which is essentially a problem when you have running an Ana. They're not running an Ana. So neither of the really detracting qualities of Junkrat's area denial tactic are really coming into play for that Fnatic composition.
Well, let's see if it works out. Maybe that's just incidental or coincidental that Misfits don't have to deal with those two picks on the side of Fnatic. They're about to find out, and they've just discovered that, yes, there's a Junkrat in play. What do we do about this? So far, Fnatic not really breaking stride so far upon discovering that the Trash Mouse is in play. A couple grenades being thrown out in towards this close area there. You can see Vonnefield got chunked down very heavily. Bud's still searching for that Hail Mary hook, but doesn't find it. The shield was placed in the way just in time. Skipjack, though, goes down to Buds here. Misfits are actually losing a bit of health now that shield's not in play. This could be nasty. Hook comes in, and that's what Fnatic are looking for, but Buds is saved there by the Cantina, by the stall. But still, Misfits are going to struggle here, and they are moving back.
Yeah, they are going to have to move back. Another giant hook from Buds comes through, and somehow that Zarya lives through it. It is chaos down there, but Matt does clean up down on Hadan. Vonnefield able to take down the tire, which is just as important as it saves lives. Nevic's still alive, though. The Rubbish Raccoon going wild.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a struggle here for Misfits. He didn't even get anything with the Riptide, but now 2 quick kills. Custer and Hafercool go down, and Skipjack makes a grand re-entrance, getting 2 kills. Very, very nice for Misfits. They play forward, but they give ground. They don't just play passively. They're actually able to adjust here and modulate their positioning based on what Fnatic are doing. Bud struggled to find the hook. It was a bit unfortunate not to find Cooler, I think it was there as well. But Fnatic are going to have to go for round 2 here.
That was just absolutely unfortunate, as you mentioned, because that was a hook on a Lucio that they really needed to win that fight. They are going to get back in here. Matt takes a ton of damage, forced to use the Sound Barrier to keep him alive, but it is working out for them as Hoppy and Bud take down the first 2 kills, 6v4 right now.
Oh, that's not ideal at all. Cormac didn't want to catch that one. He wanted to let that one go to the keeper, but Nevix is going to find him as he tries to head for the hills and get some space. Buds with a double. Hafercool gets 2 as well. Not too shabby. Now the Transcendence over the fight. Fnatic are going to make their way through despite losing their Soldier 76. The rest of the team fight went pretty darn fortuitously for them, and soon can only stall for a few moments before we are on the road here. First checkpoint comes up, 4:20 on the clock.
Buds is moving into an interesting position right now. I think he wants to get whoever's going to be rolling towards the edge first. Maybe someone's a little overzealous, gets in front of that shield. Almost happens with Nevix there. That's exactly what he's looking for, is trying to get an ambitious hook to pull someone down, or perhaps if Skipjack fire strikes, he pulled Reinhardt up over the top too, so he's just looking for a sneaky hook. They don't know he's there.
Yeah, I think Smith just want to engage his fight, actually, to be honest. Yeah, it's not good for Zarya to be up high, hard to get energy, and they have Graviton and a bomb to work with here. We'll see if it plays out. I think the Graviton got sucked up, or I'm not even seeing how it being used there. I think maybe the D.Va did counter it out. That's pretty nasty if it did. Hafercool, nicely done. Graviton getting completely wasted here for Misfits, and that's one of the downsides to playing Zarya into D.Va.
One of the problems, as you mentioned, is that you can't just hold high ground and pepper him from the top. You're very ineffective as Zarya up top, unable to charge your shields. They have to jump down there. They get absolutely cleaned up as the team was ready for it. They will move forward. They have taken high ground away.
Misfits just got put in the bin. I'm going to be honest with you there as well. Their fight depended on Zebaside and the Graviton surge. But of course, Hafercool's going to have a defense matrix if he sees 5 players hurtling towards him at speed. Doesn't work out. Fnatic establish high ground now as well. They wrest that from the grasp of Misfits, and they continue to pressure. Soon with a Harmony Orb, it's not going to be enough to deal with the burst damage coming his way. And now one by one, Misfits are falling like flies, and Fnatic have pole position, and they're making it work for them. Hook goes on towards the Zarya. It's never tried to drop down. Cooler just tries to bounce in, but Cormat is all over him with the pulse rifle.
This has been completely one-sided for the second phase of the game at the very least. They have 2 minutes to just tie the score, and they are rolling through it. Ultimates seem to be just about even, though we'll see which one of these Soldier 76s can get the better tactical visor off.
Well, we might be going to a bit of a time bank here at this rate, Hex. Fnatic have got a good position here. They're set up nicely, and now they're going to whittle away that shield of Skipjack. It's going to be very, very hard pressed to keep it up. Then you can see he has to come forward. He's got no choice but to engage, but it doesn't work out. Buds finds him first. Transcendence now for Fnatic to keep them healthy over in this fight, and Buds is making it work. Make hay while the sun shines as well. Maybe make some allies with the scrap metal of the Zenyatas if they fall. And our Sound Barrier comes out. Coolmat over the top. Great spot here to deal with the squishy backline, but he opts not to finish the job on towards Hidan. Instead helps the rest of his team clean up soon and cooler.
Well, I think Hadan has put the fear of God in a lot of these players. There's no reason to really disengage that fight unless Hadan has just been killing your team, which he has the entire game. So they do use ultimates on both sides of things so far. It is Fnatic being able to push pretty well soon, trying to bring it back. They're taking out Coolmat as a big charge. He gets the pulse bomb off, not the kill quite yet though, as he continues to run wild on the card. Soon with a double kill. This should be a defense holding.
Soon doing some serious work here as well. Fnatic don't have the spare mental bandwidth to worry about a Tracer. They can't swap flies right now because they're trying to deal with Godzilla himself. Now at least Misfits can establish. Fnatic almost had them on the ropes, and now though still with a bit of a lead in time. If they finish this point within the next 50 seconds, it'll be a very interesting time bank countdown as we go into overtime now as well. But this is Fnatic now setting up. You can see in the picture-in-picture, it's Misfits will take the high ground up on the bridge.
Well, Fnatic was doing so well on that second point and this last push by just denying high ground, getting there before the defense could set up. Now the defense is set up in high ground. You are going to see a full-on Braveheart moment as they just battle it out up top, see which Earthshatter ends up hitting here.
See Zemo, zero charge here as well. What, 40 happened pretty quickly there as well. Still, he's not able to compete in this fight. He's sort of spread off the rest of his team. He does have a Graviton Surge, though, and to be holding onto that. He doesn't want that being hoovered up yet again by Cool, but it's not a problem now as the man himself gets desuited. It's Bunny Blaster action now, and that was the Graviton Surge coming in. Good communication from Misfits to know that they had the window of no suited up D.Va to use that. They get a few kills, but Custer and Cool, they're not giving ground up here. They're still going to press forward. Custer with the big double. The Aussie goes big, sending his opponents down under. It's Caller and Zemo to fall. Another Transcendence over to keep Misfits topped up, though. Fnatic will run out of steam here.
A desperation Transcendence, but a good use of it, too. When you're in a 3v3, you want to make sure you win that 3v3, especially on defense there. That's exactly why they used it. They did have to use it in that instance. Hadan does take away his DPS to keep his other two heroes alive. That is a good defensive hold. However, the offense will have their Transcend coming in now. We'll see what angle they want to take. That is pretty much all they have in it. Can Hoppy hit a clutch self-destruct? So far, it's been underwhelming.
Yeah, again, doesn't need to worry about a Graviton coming his way, but he needs to use this effectively. We saw fantastic work on that earlier on this map, but there it is. Neverside Falls gets hooked in. Discord are taken out. Thrown in the refuse, and now it's going to be the Transcendence over the top side. Cool Matt with attack visor. Going to be looking for his opponents, but they've got sound barrier. Going to be hard to chunk through that overshield for now. Self-destruct again. A little bit underwhelming. Doesn't find too much there. Cool gets himself resuited up there, but Fnatic are getting the job done regardless. He doesn't fall soon. No, he's the big hope for Misfits up on this point now. Fnatic are trucking ahead. It's still a contested payload for the moment, but Misfits are forced to back up here. They're going to have to respawn Hex and go at one more time, but will they have enough time?
Yeah, Hoppy does not care that he did not kill that soldier. He got him out of the fight, which is all they wanted. Got him out of the fight, made him walk around. That is a long walk, even when you're sprinting on old legs, unable to get back there. However, Misfits with a better time.
Yeah, definitely a bit better. 1 minute or so that remains for Fnatic there as well. Both of these two teams finishing the map, but Fnatic would have had an air of confidence about them going into Dorado. It's always been a bit of a pocket pick for them, but Misfits have shown us something a bit different. I don't necessarily think the Junkrat made all the difference, Hex. I'd love to get your thoughts on how that played out for Nevix earlier on.
I'm biased. I like Junkrat too much. I really do, just like Junkrat. And it's important to note about Junkrat, a lot of people say no skill, it's just spam. Spam is tactical area denial, you know? Tad bit of spam.
Yeah, securing kills.
Yes,
denying
exactly.
area, being a general nuisance as well. The psychological gameplay is very important there.
You're giving up a lot, though, because the ultimate against high-level play is very hard to hit anything with.
Yeah, I mean, you can generally just sort of laser down a tire with a Zyra or whatever, or you can just let it hit you with Zyra and absorb it as damage. So Junkrat had some problems dealing with Zyra, but still, Misfits made it work. They had that extra hold, that extra defense on the first point, so it wasn't too bad. But now, Fnatic have a minute to get to the next checkpoint. They have a minute, and that was about as long as it took them on the first time, maybe even longer. So Misfits now again with the Junkrat coming in. They really want to push Fnatic back out. It doesn't look like they're going to hold too close to the spawn here. Misfits are going to give some ground.
No, holding too close to the spawn is a dangerous gambit just to embarrass teams for the most part. You don't see it too often. I do want to see a little more out of Hoppy. I think his transition to D.Va has not been as smooth as perhaps they would have liked. The very last time when he tried to get a self-destruct, he hit the wall on the way up, was unable to get it launched into the air, had to just drop it, wasn't great. And he seems to be a second too late to where he needs to be a lot of times.
I love that Bud's is going for these prediction hooks as well. He knows this once every 6 seconds, which is bonkers, by the way. So, yeah, you know, he's more than happy to just go for a random hook. It means his enemy doesn't have an opportunity to respond. If he catches him like he did earlier on Gibraltar, it's always going to be pretty nasty to deal with. Now, again, you're going to see that Sleep Shield is going to be very, very hard to keep up here. With a Junkrat bearing down it there as well. Trap actually caught something there as well. I think it might have been Cool Matt getting caught in the bear trap, and he was protected. More damage coming in over the top here. Misfits are more than happy to play back and forth here with Fnatic and get the damage race going. Oh!
That's a pretty nice hook as Buds does find Nevix through the rubbish of the entire melee there. Is able to take him down. Skipjack is able to equal it up, though, as he takes down Cussa. Both teams now down one player as it looks to be Misfits bringing this fight back in overtime right now. It's going to be hard for the offense to reinforce.
Great stuff for Misfits. They didn't overcommit to the start of the fight there. They used the Junkrat to get some early damage and give them an early advantage. And then, although the hook did come in, it was Misfits who responded to it correctly. Now, Transcendence coming in for Style. Points Hidan getting a bit of Tai Chi going up on that payload. and it will be a hold here in overtime for Misfits. That is a good sign for them, but they still need to take that first point on their attacking side. Otherwise, we're going to a tiebreak.
Well, Junkrat does excel in areas like that where there's just so much garbage in front of you. Because we saw from his POV, there's just big bodies and tanks and all sorts of particles. He doesn't really have to be precise. He's not a precision player.
More of a blunt object.
Yeah, he's just launched it. He's not a scalpel. He's a spoonful of grenades, just winging them over there. Does a lot of damage, puts a lot of pressure on the support, and it makes you in a position where you can't wait for the ideal time. You're like, I'm eating 200 damage every other second. We have to fight. I got to go for something.
It's great because it takes the whole chess game aspect out of an attacking team, because it's like, who hits the first hook? It's now like, no, we need to hit the first hook, and we need to hit that one Junkrat. Otherwise, we are slowly going to get whittled down. The war of attrition is going to be in favor of the team with the Junkrat. So it was a great hook coming from Buds, don't get me wrong, but they were already very low after the fact. When we saw Coolmat get caught in the bear trap, or I guess the trap from Junkrat, Fnatic had to stop dead. Stoop had to bang his shield out in front. He had to take grenade damage as well, which means that his shield was busted before the fight even started.
Right. He's chaos incarnate. He just puts a wrench in your plans. I want to go this area. Oh, there's 5 grenades over there. I want to retreat. Oh, he's been throwing grenades behind me. There's a trap there. It's so much you have to account for with a Junkrat that even though if he's not securing kills, finishing kills, I think he's a good pick because also teams aren't really practiced against him lately.
That is true, and we're not used to seeing him at all. First time I've seen him on this meta, if I'm honest. Zebo back to the Widowmaker here as well. He has utter faith. And the cold-blooded sniper. We'll see if it pays off there. Headshot on towards Buds there. That might be something if they can follow up, but they can't seem to catch Roadhog. He backs away and is enveloped by his team and healed up very, very quickly there. Buds actually finds Cooler in response here, so this is going to slow Misfits up a great deal here. Also means that Zebasai is going to take more passive positioning as he won't have AoE healing available for now.
Zebo still trying to find a kill so that he can feel alive in the moments of battle, trying to find something here. They know he's there. Well, I always say that a Widow can change the scope of a battle by not firing a shot because it changes where you can even feel comfortable setting up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's always the implied presence of Widow that's the scariest part here. Bud's taking a lot of damage. You can see it coming through. Now being challenged out here by the Winston. It was Skipjack that wanted to get into his face.
They got to punish that. They do.
The single tank comp not quite working out for Misfits. Skipjack went in, but I didn't see any of the other flankers. Pulse Bomb comes in, soon gets 2. That may have turned things around, but Bud's very quickly to respond here with the hook, and now making life impossible for Soon. He can't flank when he's got the shrapnel going in his direction, and Misfits almost had a chance to get off and race. You can see how close the payload is to that final checkpoint. The Misfits are going to be held off for now. They must be patient. 1 minute remains.
Pretty decent there for Soon, but I would like to see them come in with Skipjack. He gave up his life for absolutely nothing there. Why are you running a Genji and a Tracer if they're not going to go in with your tank as he jumps in? This is crucial though, as Zebo is going to have the infrared sight. He's going to turn on his wall hacks. This could lead to a crucial pick that allows him to take this map.
And his whole team can see the setup of Fnatic. There's nowhere to hide now for the North American squad, and Zebo now going to just put the thumb screws in a bit more. Now that boost being used up on the Roadhog keeper. What's Bud's really doing with it? Just left clicking. That is suboptimal to say the very least. He misses the hook as well. It might be going all wrong for Fnatic right now. As Misfits never gets the reflect back on towards Buds. Vonafil falls there. Zebasai coming through now. There's no shield to protect Fnatic, and it's going to be Misfits to get over the line in overtime. They take the series 2-1, and Europe holds their head high, and they will move out of this group in first place.
Whew. A lot of things that I think they're not expecting to play against, and that's one of the benefits of this Misfits, rebellion, if you will. They're not going to play standard. We're not playing Diva. We're not playing 76. We'll throw it in here and there, but we're not running it like every map and everyone is. We're not running triple tank. These are our heroes that we're good at. We're good at Tracer. We're good at Genji. And you know what? Our Widow's pretty good too. And you're not prepared for it.
And it's less of like a rebellion in terms of a child stamping its foot and having a tantrum, but someone who is setting a trend, or I guess, changing, rewriting the history books a little bit there as well. Hidan as well. No gang signs on stage, bro. Come on. Not bad. I know you won, but let's just be sensible here. So yeah, Fnatic would be a little bit crestfallen after that one. I think it's safe to say. That was frustrating for them as well. Going on towards a control map is always going to be a little bit of a wet blanket.
That was their pick.
Yeah, and then going to Dorado, and they were, to be fair, in my opinion, Dorado specialists at one point or another, but they weren't ready for what Misfits brought against them. The shock and awe, they took too long to recover.
I still think they might have gotten greedy. I'm not certain if the data on the map draft is 100% correct. Okay. But if it is, I think they got greedy because you get a pick, right? You ban pick. And they chose not to pick King's Row. And King's Row is their best map. It's by far their best map. They look dominant on King's Row. I even asked them yesterday, I'm like, what is it about King's Row that makes you good? And they're like, I don't know. We're just good at King's Row. Like, it's just one of those innate
10 out of
things.
10 analysis. Right?
Well,
what do you do with that?
I tried, all right? I asked them. But they're like, we're just good at it. And so it's that innate good thing. And I think they got greedy hoping it was going to end up being just not banned out, and it didn't get banned out. Now they have to fight their way back.
Yeah, it was one of the maps I think that Fnatic bundled them out of the competition at Gamescom with, but that was so long ago, it shouldn't matter anymore. But there's much more to say about this game as well, as it's giving us a very interesting look into how the meta is currently developing. And for all that and more, we're going to pass it over to Zoe and the Jets.
Thank you so much, guys. We are back on a panel, and there is indeed a lot to say about that match. So let's take it one by one, starting with Gibraltar. One of the most notable things happening right there was that Widow pick on defense past the first point too. Didn't work out for them, but Zebosai just kept on staying on that Widow. Why do you guys think that is?
So for Widowmaker, she's one of the heroes where she is feast or famine, and I think Misfits had recent results where they were able to use Zebo in that role and really keep things going forward and get a lot of momentum. Unfortunately, Gibraltar's, it's pretty easy for teams to hide around line of sight, and Fnatic had a very good defensive set there that really wasn't giving Zebosai the pickoffs I was looking for. Moreover, it wasn't like the other maps where you could run a Tracer and easily get to where you want to create distractions like they were able to do later on. So Gibraltar, for a lot of reasons, really was not the map for Misfits, but I do think that they stay on the Widow far too long.
I think even the Widow's like really momentum-based as well. Like you have to channel your inner NBA jam and just go on fire, basically, because once you start hitting those shots, you keep hitting the shots, you keep hitting the shots. But once you start missing them, it just seems to be a downward spiral for you. So like Zebo didn't really have a good game at all in Gibraltar, but credit to him to actually pull it back later on in the series and play it damn well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually have the first replay ready now, so let's take a look at what we were having right there.
So yeah, Zebosai, he didn't really. So he did end up switching over to Zarya. It didn't have that great of a game in the beginning, considering what we've seen him do at BlizzCon. He had multiple Graviton soldiers eaten by the newcomer Hafikool, which we really need to point out, I guess, a little bit later on, and how well he played. But Misfits was really good on Ilios. There was a quick 3-0 like we predicted on that map in particular, which is why we kind of wondered why Fnatic kind of let it slip through. But obviously we didn't really see
Why do you guys think Fnatic is struggling so much with that game mode? Because even if they do tap the point first, they just seem to like fall apart right after. Why is that?
Well, they're very much in tune the meta right now where they are running a lot of Diva Roadhog, but they haven't really felt comfortable running things like a Tracer, which is a little bit weird because CoolMat can play a really good Tracer. We've seen it in the past. And also going on the topic of Tracer, you take a look at a player like Soon. Soon, we talk about specialists in the game where you have Shadowburn as, say, a Genji specialist. Soon is making a case for being one of, if not the best Tracer in the game. Gigantic pulse bombs all throughout. Really the main driving force as to why Fnatic wasn't able to get anything going, because how can you when Soon is being that consistent on a Tracer?
Well, we even saw on the third point of Ilios on Ruins, we saw McCree being played by Buds. Kind of like, well, we need something to deal with them.
Like,
well, they need something to do with Tracer.
Do?
Well, you flashbang headshot combo. It's relatively easy to do in theory, right? In theory, it's easy to do, but he wasn't really able to do too much. They even put Hafikool and Genji because it's like, you know what? It's the last chance, right? So why not throw everything we have at this one?
Yeah, they really tried it all, but it didn't work out. Misfits did come out on top of that map. Let's actually take a look at the second replay for now.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be on Dorado, actually, out of Zebosai, who, again, he struggled really early on in the series, but he seemed to really come out strong as the series progressed further. He was able to get himself in a position to actually avoid a lot of damage. And what's that, ZP? You wanted to say something?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, the other thing to note about here, too, is that Soon was able to come in from the flank, and while they're looking at Soon, they're not looking at Zebosai, they're not respecting those Widow sight lines, and Zebo was just able to come in and rip them apart.
Goes with the whole dive comp.
Speaking of Zebo, we got third one as
He's
well.
The worst. He's
oh
the
my
worst.
God. Yeah, Zebo,
oh, no.
Congratulations to that win. That was quite interesting games to watch. We were all wondering, that Widowmaker on the first point didn't quite work out. Why did you stay on her for so long anyways?
What map are we talking about?
Gibraltar.
It didn't work because Nevix got hooked and Cooler crashed at the same time. Like, we've only ran it once before in a scrim, but then it worked to great effect, and it would have because they played against it the way we want them to play against it. But it just Nevix got hooked and Cooler crashed, so it couldn't execute it.
What?
What?
So we played in one scrim and it worked really well. So we're like, let's put it in a match that means a lot to us.
We all
like,
assumed that you guys have been practicing with Widowmaker a lot. presumably. Otherwise, you wouldn't pick it. That's not the case at all?
No, we usually play.
Why,
We usually play triple tank, but we didn't
Okay.
want to show our strats with triple tank in this game. So
Okay.
we ran this comp instead.
So you're that confident against Fnatic that you didn't need to show your real strategy.
And we need to save our triple tank strat for NIP.
So I'm curious with the Widowmaker too, isn't that a little bit assuming too much off of one game? Just because you have the entire element with Widow where you do have games where even if it's only 20% of the time you go off, that could have been that 20% of the time, but you have a sample size of, say, 10 games on Widowmaker on Gibraltar, you go, okay, this actually isn't working out all that well.
But the thing is, on Gibraltar, you can set up so good crossfires, and we know everyone's going to play triple tank. So what they basically have to do is push up top, and then we just run around. We run around in circles, and they don't push, at least. Like, I don't know. It worked great when we played it versus Mouse in the scrim, like first days, so we just thought we'd do it now too.
That's brave. That's ballsy.
That's very ballsy. I actually have another question. We did get to see Junkrat on the last map as well. I'm personally a big fan of Junkrat, mostly against those shields because he is eating through those a lot. Do you feel like Junkrat is something a lot more teams might be implementing to like kind of, you know, counter that tanky kind of composition from the opponents?
It works on certain maps, but then like D.Va kind of counters it. So I don't know if it's actually that good, but we just put people on heroes
just
they're
picked
confident
it anyway
on, you know?
because why
like
not?
we let Zoom play Tracer on defense first point, because we know it's a good Tracer. So I don't know, we're not playing the meta, we're just playing what we're confident with. We tried to run it that way.
Seemed to work out just fine right there against Fnatic. So once more, congratulations. And I have another reminder for you guys. If you want to win a GeForce GTX 1080, all you have to do is go on Twitter, tweet at NVIDIA_UK with hashtag GameReady, and then you can get one of those for yourself. Good luck with that. We're going to head into a quick break, and then we're back with the next game, so stay tuned.